Hi, my name is Preach. I'm here to bring a series of messages given to me by the Spirit of the Lord for the purpose of bringing information free to the people. The first message I have is called A Message to the Church. And the reason I'm bringing this first to the church is, one, the church is normally in a position that they preach to people. Well, this time we're going to preach, the people are going to preach to the church. Why I'm bringing this is there's a movement right now that churches want to increase their membership. And that's all good and fine. But some of them have ill purposes. And then there's another side to it where people are not being effective once they get people into the churches. Churches these days want to do things their way when they go out and evangelize. And I'm not trying to be in authority on evangelism. I'm not that smart. I don't have the intellect, but God has given me a message to the church, and if the church will listen, then we can do this God's way. Jesus, in Matthew 4:19, turned to his disciples, and he told them, he said, "And now follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And when I think about that, Jesus took fishermen, and he told them, "I'll make you fishers of men. I'm going to take you to another level." And the church want to go out, and they want to send Sister Fierce and Brother Ferocious out, and what they do is, the ones that they do catch, they get them in the church, and for some reason or another, some of them end up going back out in the world. And we're going to get to that in a second. But we need to follow exactly what Jesus said. And one of the reasons that I'm bringing this is that we get out of the format that God has laid out, and we begin to be ineffective. And when Jesus said, "I'll make you fishers of men," then he took the analogy of a fisherman to a fisherman because he wanted it to be something that he understood. Because it was really a simple process. All the fishermen understood what it took to be a fisherman. And Jesus was not talking about the fishermen that fish from the banks. He was talking about fishermen that go out into the deep and bring in the big fish, the bad fish. The fish that Jesus was looking for were not inside the church, is what I'm getting at. They went outside of the shores. They got off those banks and they went out to where the fish were. They didn't, build bigger places and put activities on and have fish fries to attract people to them. They went out to where they were. And in my analogy, I want to look at each church like a boat. And these churches are going out into the waters, and in all actuality, some churches need to get back to the shore because the fish that you've caught already, you're not dealing with them. And those fish are rotten. And they're of no purpose because you've already caught those and you don't really need any more. But there's another church that goes out into the water, and Jesus is saying, okay, this is how you should be doing this. Well, first of all, we have to look at a fisherman. There's only 3 things really that a fisherman needs to be a fisherman, and a good one at that. One, he has to have patience. And the patience is one of the most important parts of it, or the most important characteristics of being a fisherman, because a patient fisherman waits until something happens. He don't try to rush the process and bastardize this thing and get things all out of sync and mess up the process. See, he sits there patiently, he waits, and then and when he catches it, he knows what to do with it. And that brings us to the second attribute. he has a knowledge of what he's doing, why he's doing it, and then he has a knowledge of where he's going to fish. You have to know where to fish first, because you don't want to go out there and just be patient just because there's a body of water out here. You got to have fish out there to catch. That's the whole purpose. Go out to where the fish are. Then you need to know what kind of fish you are fishing for. Have some kind of knowledge about what you're dealing with. Because a lot of times, you know, we want to run the word of God down people's mouth who don't even have an understanding of who or what God is. They may have heard about him, but you know, we want to bring all our intellect out into the neighborhoods and to the streets and to the highways and the byways, and these people have no comprehension of what you're talking about when you get out there. You're overwhelming them. Then lastly, under the second stage, you have to know what the fish like. See, because one fact is that you cannot take a worm and catch a whale. There's no way. Fish eat different stuff. There's different baits to lure different fish. So you have to be in tune with what those fish that you're fishing for, or whatever area you're fishing in, what are they like? What attracts them? And we can't get too caught up in that stuff where it says, oh, that's so worldly. Because I had a guy tell me that Christian rap wasn't of God. Well, I beg to differ, because these guys put hours in studying the Bible to put a beat to the Word of God and then bring it to people to attract them. That's fishy. Then, lastly, you have to have an understanding as to what to do once you get the fish caught. That's where the process seems to sometimes get really, really messed up. Because one, we'll display patience, we'll know, and then we don't have an idea of what to do once we catch the fish. And that's the most important part of the process, because once you catch the fish, what Jesus is telling us inside his message is, we're going to teach these fish something they've never, ever understood before. And actually, we don't even understand it, because what he's actually doing is telling you that you're going to catch a fish and you're going to take him out of the water where that's his natural habitat. And now you're going to teach a fish how to live outside of the water, what he lived on prior to you catching him. And that's a miracle. But guess what? You can't do it. Jesus is saying, you go catch him and bring him into the boat. Let me do the rest. We want to have all the hands-on, and we want to fix people when actually Michael Jackson said the man in the mirror is who we should be studying and fixing on. We can't fix these people. We can give them the Word of God, lead them to Christ, and then let Christ do his work. We can be a great support system, but we need to stop trying to fix things that we have no idea on how to work on. We just have no idea. We can't comprehend what God has put into each individual. So we need to actually stay in our lane, as my old pastor used to say. But I tell you, this is one part that disturbs me. I used to watch the Outdoorsman. And it was kind of funny at the time, but I really thought about this. You'll have that one scene where the guys are in their boat and they reel in a fish. And the guy will get that fish and he'll grab the fish out of the water and he fumbles it and it falls back in the water. And the two guys in the boat, they laugh and they, whoo, that one got away. He was big, man. He was big. But, yeah, it's funny on the Outdoorsman. But I want you to understand this, that, first of all, what just happened was that guy caught the fish and he mishandled the fish. and he dropped that fish back in the water. Well, if you knew a fish and he could talk to you, and you asked a fish what's on the menu in a fish restaurant, one of the plates on the menu is fish. Fish eat fish. And what that guy just did was he injured the fish by bringing him in, and he dropped the injured fish back into the water. He mishandled him. And that's what happens in the church. We mishandle so many people, and we drop them back into the water injured, and guess what? The predator fish comes and they eat them alive. And you know, I'm an authority on that, because guess what? I was one of those fish. Mishandled and left to be eaten alive. I just was blessed by God to get out of the teeth of the fish that was about to eat me up. The church today needs to follow God's instructions to the letter, because we are in our last days. I'll see you next time.